Welcome back to Noka Media, your source for Northern Ontario homegrown media content.
We have Frank, who's in the waiting room. And good morning, Frank. How are you? So
Okay.
I just want to kind of introduce the situation through a summarization of a story by Tyler Clark from Sudbury.com. And this was a kind of it was after he's already written a few stories, but this is one of the latest ones. And the headline basically is that the city of Greater Sudbury is filing a countersuit of $4.5 million against Road Surface Recycling, which is your company, alleging a breach of contract and negligence related to a hot-in-place asphalt recycling pilot project, which that's what you are pioneering, is this hot-in-place recycling of road resurfacing. And it was on the Kingsway, July 2023. It says the Ajax contractor is separately suing the city for $1 million and is seeking permission to return to complete the project after being removed from the site. So these are interesting words, right? So the city is countersuing you, but you're also separately suing the city instead of saying you originally filed the suit, and that's what you originally filed the suit. And a countersuit or a counterclaim means it's after, but he's making it seem as if this was first. And oh, by the way, you also have a $1 million suit against the city. So saying the city side, the city argues that your company failed to meet contract specifications. You started work nearly 2 years too late. And I know you're going to want to speak to all of these things, and we're just going to try and get through all of this, and then we're going to basically have a discussion for the better part of like 45 minutes. So you also produced asphalt that was improperly heated and could not bond correctly. After our conversation last night, I'm laughing as I'm reading this, and I apologize, resulting in severely damaged pavement that now must be fully removed and replaced. A third-party engineering company reviewed it, that WSP out of Montreal, found numerous deficiencies and concluded the work would only last a few years. The city maintains the pilot project did not allow for experimental or substandard work and says testing was conducted properly and objectively. So, and Tyler Clark saying this is basically what you said in rebuttal to that. Road Surface Recycling disputes those findings, claiming the project was experimental and required flexibility, that testing was extensive and flawed, excessive. Testing was excessive and flawed, and that the city acted unfairly and showed bias. The city rejects those claims, noting 2 Auditor General investigations found no evidence supporting your allegations, the contractor's allegations of misconduct. And its counterclaim, the city and its the city says any reputational harm suffered by the company was self-inflicted, and that the breakdown in the relationship combined with alleged unprofessional contact makes it impossible for the contractor to return to the project. And I know this was painful for you to hear. Possibly.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning to the listeners. Good morning, Aaron, and thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. Myself, I've been in the paving industry over 45 years, so since I was 7 years old. And I learned the paving industry from the ground up. I can run every piece of equipment. I can run asphalt plants. I'm familiar with the entire process, from mining to finished product on the road, to completing a project and getting it paid for. So my experience in paving is extensive. My experience in hot-in-place recycling runs 40 years as well, because I took it upon myself in my early 20s to see if asphalt could be recycled 100%. And I've endured a lot of criticism through the years. A lot of people will think I'm a little bit nuts, and some people call me a mad scientist. But the reality of it is it's achievable. I think by winning the Recycling Project of the Year award for 2025 through Durham Region's project of hot-in-place recycling, their attitude towards our process on their roads was, yes, it's pilot. And when they saw the results, and the results were pretty consistent, and when we had a problem on one section of road, it was a short problem, we fixed it. We didn't question why it happened or what caused it to happen. We just went and redid it. And they were surprised that there was no battle to get it redone. It just happened naturally for us because it didn't turn out the way we wanted it to. So that's what we do. And we back our product 100%. The idea of recycling asphalt roads the way we do it, it can be done very comfortably and very well, but everybody has to realize that we're working with the materials that are already there. We're not bringing in new materials. We don't get to start from scratch and design and engineer something from scratch. We start with the raw product that's been already performing for the last 20 or 25 years. And our goal is to make it perform another 20 or 25 years. That's how simple it is. It's not complicated. It doesn't meet brand new material standards because we don't have control of the raw product that we provide them. And that's why, in that particular case, Sudbury's project was also a pilot project. That was the key word that you mentioned in your introduction, a pilot project. And in a pilot project, yes, you don't criticize. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's the difference between a pilot project and you got the tender for the contract itself. Like there's two different things, and that's why it's deemed pilot project. That's what makes it a little bit different. Tell us a little bit about the machine itself and how it operates. Like how are the mechanics of all that? How does it work?
Okay, well, asphalt is produced at 160 degrees Celsius. It is repliable. In other words, you can heat it back up to 160 degrees Celsius, but you don't have to get that high the second time around. We heat it to about 120 degrees Celsius. And at that point, it is removable from the surface. So the way the operation works is there's a series of machines that work in tandem. The first ones are called preheaters. Their job is strictly to heat the surface of the road and force the heat to go downwards into the pavement. And we all know heat rises. I mean, when you're in your house and you turn your house heater on, the hottest air is not on the ground; it's up in the air because it rises. So we're trying to force it to do this, to do something that's unnatural, and that is to go downwards and penetrate into the layers, into the asphalt. And we're trying to heat it down 50 millimeters deep for processing. But we also have to get about another 10 millimeters deeper than that so that we can create a surface that is bondable. Because at a warm temperature, the material we put down on top of it bonds 100% to the material underneath. Without that, it'll slip off. And I'm sure everybody's driven down roads where they see the road has slid, like it looks like a chevron, and it's opened up and the top layer is got a 2-inch or 50 millimeter bump in it. So what we do is we heat and heat and heat to get that penetration. Remember, asphalt's an insulator, so it doesn't want to be reheated. And when it's heated in an asphalt plant, it's in a granular form. So you heat the aggregate as it falls through a veil of flame. Well, you can't expose it to flame. You burn it. It's a petroleum product. So there's a lot of details that we have to cover and make sure that we do them right. Once you heat it, then there's the processing unit, the recycling unit, and it comes along and it has rotors on it with carbide tip feet, and it spins at a speed that it goes through the heated surface with little resistance. So how do I explain this part? A conventional milling operation that cold mills the surface off has about 300 horsepower per meter of milling width. We run at about 120 horsepower per meter milling width. So it's significantly less. So the idea is by heating it, you make it like warm butter so it cuts easily. Traditionally, it's frozen butter. That's the best description I can give you. So once we do that, we remove the surface. The aggregate, because it's warm, and not cold comes out undamaged. It doesn't chip it. It doesn't break it. So we maintain the gradations of the existing material. And then, and this is, we plane the surface off, collect it in a windrow, run it into a mixer. We add rejuvenator oils to it, blend that all together, put it back on the road as a windrow, and a paver picks it up and lays it back down. Now, the magic of this process is the rejuvenation. So when I look at a road, I look at three things in the road. I look at the type of aggregate, how much sand, how much stone. And the third thing is how much liquid asphalt cement is in it, and what's the condition of the liquid asphalt cement. And what is liquid asphalt cement? Liquid asphalt cement is a petroleum product. It is the last product that comes out of a refinery that they can't crack down any further and get anything else out of it. So it is what we call the binder. A lot of people refer to it as the tar. It's not tar, because tar is made from coal, and it's coal tar. It's liquid asphalt cement, it's called. The liquid asphalt cement is a certain grade when they lay it of softness. It's a glue, so it glues all the sand and the stone together. The only thing that goes wrong with the road over its lifespan, the only thing that goes wrong with it is the glue starts to oxidize and harden. And as it hardens, it has less sticks and the stone together and maintain the integrity of the road. So then you start seeing the road wear off. You start seeing the stones exposed because it can't hold the sand in. You start seeing potholes in various areas because the surface is worn down to the next layer down. Or you see extensive cracking, which you see a lot of that in Sudbury because they use a lot of crack filler. And the cracks then start forming, and the aggregate starts chipping as the cracks get wider. The stones start chipping off because the glue is too brittle to hold it together. So that's a basic lesson in asphalt. So what does RSR do? RSR has formulated a product that we add to the liquid asphalt that's 100% compatible to the liquid asphalt cement. And what we do is we reinstate the condition of the glue, the asphalt cement, and we remix it with the stone and the sand. And guess what happens? The asphalt cement then becomes pliable, it becomes adhesive again, and it holds the product together in the same condition it held it together from day one when it was placed 25 years ago. So that in a nutshell is what we do. Now, how we do it? It took 25 years to come up with this formulation. It wasn't something that just happened overnight. It took us a long time to develop it, but we got to it, and that's how it works. We are determined to get rid of the stockpiles of asphalt over the next 10 years. We should be able to recycle asphalts 100%. They are recyclable 100%, but people have to believe it. And the industry itself doesn't want to do it. They talk about it, but they don't want to make the changes that are necessary to do it.
It's true. And we talked about this last night about, it is a huge industry, and there's a lot of people making a lot of money off the things that you would definitely minimize that. And so a lot of people would be affected if this was taken on as one of the main ways to surface our roads going forward. And so you're facing this type of opposition every day, which you would think is counterintuitive, because our governments that are the ones that, municipal governments by and large, are the ones that are making contracts for these roads, and then, provincial for the highways and things like that. But you would think because they're worried about climate change and the environment so much, that they'd be all over this. You'd be their poster child for this, but it doesn't seem to be the case.
No. Well, I'll say this, and I don't think people really think about this. The biggest single asset owned by government The biggest single asset, more than buildings, is the infrastructure. It's the road network. And if you would put together the paved roads in the infrastructure, the sewage system and water system, those represent 90% of the assets the governments own.
Wow.
Think about that. Well, like, it's stuff you don't see, you don't think about, but it is the biggest single expense that government maintains.
Wow. I never would have looked at it like that, but you are right. If you think of all of the money, all of the time that goes into producing, maintaining, and just roads alone, and then the infrastructure that goes along with the roads, it's pretty incredible. It's I never would have thought of that. I never would have thought of it as an asset either.
Well, it's the biggest asset they have, and who owns it? The taxpayers. Who pays to maintain it? The taxpayers. So you would think that the bureaucracy and government political level would welcome anything that can extend their money to produce more maintenance procedures. In other words, if this is about 30% of the cost of conventional paving in Sudbury, and if we were to do $1 million worth of recycling for the city of Sudbury, they would have $2 million more to do another $2 million worth of work doing it with our method compared to doing it with the traditional methods they use there right now. So instead of paving 10 kilometers of road, they would be able to pave 30 kilometers of road with hot in place recycling, compared to 10 kilometers with conventional paving. So there's a significant savings, a huge environmental impact because it's 74% cleaner than conventional paving. It is a one and done process. In other words, in Sudbury, how long does it take them to pave a road from when they first put the signs up till they take the signs down? It takes them 2 months or 3 months. We move in and we do a road. We pave one lane one day, it's finished. We pave the next lane the next day, it's finished. We take the signs, we paint it, we take the signs down 3 days later, and it's open to traffic. We're a one and done. We don't run this for 2 months, closing a road down. And that's the difference. Everybody says, oh, you take too long, your machines are too big, they cover too much of the road. My God, think about it. Every time we finish a day's worth of work, we come in, we start in the morning, we're done at the end of the day. That section is done. It's not another month of work to get it before it's a finished surface. That's what everybody doesn't understand. We go through intersections. The intersection isn't closed for an hour and a half. It's closed for 20 minutes, if that. So
let's go back to now this contract that you got for the city, pilot project. Yeah. Who brought you into the city and how did that happen? And then how did everything unfold?
Well, it all started in 2020. We were doing the Ontario Good Roads show. I think it was the Ontario Good Roads. It could have been one of the other technical shows that we participated in. And we met 3 city councillors there. And the city councillors got all excited because of the Sudbury roads were in such bad condition. If this thing could save them money and they could do more and recycle, it had all the right things. So next thing we know, the city councillors bring the mayor over, and then, okay, we want you to come up and do a presentation, which we did, and everybody was excited about it. It was a previous mayor, and he was gung-ho on it. And also these 3 councillors, 2 of them have passed away since, and one is repeatedly in trouble because he came to our town hall meeting and defended the bureaucracy. Instead, he was viewed as criticizing him, which he never did. And that's on record for me. He said absolutely nothing in the meeting other than he corrected me about some of the employees there and the situation. And I felt terrible that he got in trouble for that, which was just, I believe, just a bunch of crazies up there going after him. particularly the CAO, who wanted to make sure that this process never got off the ground. Who, by the way, is no longer there. Along with the people that caused all the problems for us, particularly the one who wrote us up with all the deficiencies, is no longer working for the city. And that person had absolutely no experience and very little experience in asphalt, and was telling us how to do the job.
Yeah, so let's walk through that again. So these councillors come down, you do the presentation, the mayor is all about it. These three councillors, which all of our viewers know exactly who they are because we know who the two that passed away. And the other one we know because he's in hot water all the time. He's running for mayor at the moment. And so people can just surmise who those individuals are. And so everyone's gung-ho about it. They say, yeah, come on in. You're good. They give you a spot on the Kingsway kind of thing, or however that came to be, wherever you decided to start. You start the project, everyone's happy, and then
they put there was two contracts put out. There was an original contract put out, which we did not get because they added all kinds of curb work and sewer work in it. We don't do that. It was supposed to be a pure recycling job. It came in at 2.2 million. They canceled that job. It was specifically called a pilot project. The specifications to it were different because they were going to bring in another recycling company that didn't do what we do exactly. They did things differently, but they canceled that contract because it was they didn't want to spend 2.2 million to start with. We were doing the same work for about $1 million, so that tells you everything. There was 3 contractors bid that job. Ironically, only one of them had equipment, and us. And
you're kidding.
We gave our prices out as a sub to the other contractors, and they didn't use us, even though we were cheaper. So, but anyway, went to the local contractor. It got canceled. Then they changed the specifications because they knew we were coming, and they made it more having to meet asphalt plant mix. Well, you can't meet a virgin mix. You can't meet 100% new mix with everything being old. It's like taking the paneling off a wall and saying reuse all of the paneling over again. And you do your best to fill the nail holes, and you do it, but it's still used paneling. I mean, it's not brand new.
Exactly.
So we don't have that kind of control to exchange 100 billion stones per kilometer. So, and put new ones in. That's crazy. You need to make it new. So it became contentious, and they rewrote the spec to make it so it was very, for us, and it's very obvious in the 2 contracts that you can see one's built has no rules, nothing, no requirements, and the next one all of a sudden you have to make the plant mix, a virgin mix.
Yep.
So we did it anyway because it was a pilot project. So, we were going to go in and learn how to do what their problems were and overcome them and learn them. The contract was very specific. It said that the Kingsway limits were 1.2 kilometers and would not be changed under no circumstances. And when we get there and we go through everything, they changed the limits to the Kingsway to 4.2 kilometers. So we didn't know what was in the other 3 kilometers. And because we didn't have time to test it, they were adamant that we were doing it. Anyway, that became a bone of contention. And then we found out things about the road that we didn't know after the fact, 6 months or a year later, which is fine because it wouldn't have changed how we would have done things if they had left us alone to do it the way we knew how to do it. As far as getting to the job late, everybody forgot that 2020, 2021, 2022 were COVID years. And 2023, we were coming out of it. Does everybody realize that COVID literally destroyed companies, destroyed businesses? We were so late, we couldn't get parts for our equipment for 8 months.
Oh, I'm aware of that for sure. It totally, all the supply chains were disrupted. Companies went under, and then everything was just like hiccuping, trying to get back afterwards. It took a long time.
Sudbury.com mentions we were 2 years late.
Yep.
They should have mentioned in there that COVID affected us because we told Tyler Clark COVID affected us, and he ignored it.
Yeah.
So the problem that we have is that yes, we were 2 years late. Was it our fault? Yeah, it was our fault. We were 2 years late. What control did we have? We had no control over it because COVID caused such a disruption in everything that we had to do to get the other contracts going. Do you realize that our people had to be in separate rooms? Like you had to have an individual room for each person when you were out of town.
Crazy.
And let me explain how that affected us. Try to find a room when all the hotels are booked solid because you can't have two people in a room.
It's insane. I know. It's almost impossible. And then you have the other side just not giving you any leeway in understanding these anomalies, even though they are very much aware of them because they have to live by them as well.
Well, they understood them, and they would have given everybody else all the leeways. They wouldn't give us a leeway.
Correct.
And the intention here was to make sure that we would not succeed. Okay. Anyway, many things happened. There were many threats to many by the engineering group there to many supporters of us, including our bonding company and others. Letters flying back and forth and so on and so on. We finally get there. And when we get there, we're told, nope, you're going to do all the King's Way. And we went, but we didn't test. We don't know what's there on the rest of it. We know what's at the beginning, but we don't know the rest. Well, you're doing it. You're going to do it. Okay, give us a change order. That's what the contract required. Nope, we're not giving you a change order. We're telling you you're going to do it.
Whoa.
That's how that job went.
And this is coming from official Sudbury sources. This isn't just some third-party contractor or whatever.
This is the engineering group.
Wow.
No, this is the engineering group. We're dealing directly with the engineering group. Now, the director of engineering is no longer there, and his wife, who was in charge of our job, is no longer there. They were both terminated recently. The director of public works never showed up on the job once. We couldn't get him to respond with an email ever in 3 years.
Wow.
And that we have that on record. His common law wife responded to us, and she was writing us emails in July while we were doing the job at 10:30 at night, telling us what to do. And I mean, we're in bed sleeping at 10:30 at night. So that created a lot of dissension and a lot of problems for us. They shut us down with the 10:45 in the evening email the next morning. We're out getting ready to start. We're heating, we're doing our thing. And she shows up at 8:30 and shuts us down. She said, I sent you an email. You're not to work today, or you're officially shut down. Well, we never saw the email. So anyway, making a long story short, that's how things were run there. We got 8 deficiency letters. 2 of them were legitimate, which were material issues that were within the roadside. The rest of them were her misinterpretation of the contract. And that'll all get proven as we go along because, you know, there's experts that can read the contract that will make sure that that the wording is correct. Did we fail some of the tests? Is it what everybody said? So the report that was done by the city hastily and then released publicly, which they never release those reports, they have to be FOI'd. But this report ended up on their website. And the first one that was put out August 30th, 2023 was incorrect and was missing appendices and things that they talked about. But then when you go to look for that appendix, it wasn't there. So that was pointed out to them. So they gingerly, in over a 3-week period, put a new report out and substituted it for the old report without saying a word and put the appendix in. But they removed other appendices that were originally in the first one. That's how they ran this professionally engineered report.
Ouch!
And in the report,
but what gets somebody faced for doing something like that? To me, that sounds illegal. Just to me, is there any repercussions for doing that?
It's unprofessional. It's unbecoming. I mean, you're a professional engineer signing this thing, and you're going to go change it, maintain the same dates,
Yeah.
All the same wording, but take it from a 192-page report to a 207-page report, and not say it's revised on the cover. Nothing. Just try to pass it off as the same report. Just ridiculous. And that report had 13 pictures in it. It was one picture with 13 different station numbers on it, representing 13 different areas of the job.
One picture used for 13 different purposes.
Yeah, saying deficiency, deficiency. So, and then there was many others. I mean, we had an engineer pull engineering, two of them, review it, and they wrote a 26-page report saying it's just not believable that they did things incorrectly. They mention things in one area but don't show the proof in another area, or they did the bad pictures. For example, they were measuring the smoothness of the road. Well, let me ask you something. When you land with an airplane on an airport runway is about 65 meters wide, 60 meters wide.
Uh-huh.
So, and it is about 3 kilometers long. So when you're measuring smoothness on an airport runway, I'm using a runway because I wanted people to visualize this. When a plane lands, it lands on the 3 kilometer long section, right? It doesn't land across 180 or 60 meter wide part, does it?
No.
Because that's how they were measuring our smoothness. They were measuring it across the road instead of lengthwise.
Which is not the way we drive, and that's why you just
It's not how you land a plane either.
Exactly. No. Obviously.
So they were measuring the smoothness over a 4 meter width instead of over a 1 kilometer length, which is just insane. And then they said we were at a tolerance, and I just shake my head when I saw it. And then they were using loonies and quarters as measuring devices instead of a calibrated instrument, which they have.
Well, they are.
And they said, oh, look, they're saying that a loony and a toonie are consistent. No, they're not. Because if you stack them face to face, they have one width. If you stack them tail to face, another width. Tail to tail, another width. If they're worn slightly, they have another width. So they're professional engineers using coins for calibrated measurements that they're going to fail us on. Making a long story short, the WSP report was torn to pieces, and it is questionable whether or not the first 26 pages that were signed by WSP were the only pages that they stand behind, and the other 170 some odd pages were manipulated by others, which is what possibly happened, because they were able to change those. They weren't able to change the 26 pages. So I don't want to get too deep. I've already gotten too deeper than I should have into that. But the reality is there was no intent to it was never an intention to let us finish the job. Never. It was to let us start it. The small handful of engineering people, their intent was to destroy our company and stop us from finishing the job. Not treating it like a pilot project, which it still is to this day. And ironically, I don't think the job is canceled yet by the city. It's still on their books. So
wow.
As of right now, there is a lawsuit. A lawsuit is $1 million. The county it's 4.5, and the reason why it's 4.5 is because that's what their estimate is. It would cost them to complete what we would do for $1 million.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you have a story or event you would like to see featured on this channel, just send us an email at nocaudits@gmail.com.